There's something about a quiet cafe on a Tuesday morning. The low hum of conversation, the clink of mugs, the comfort of routine that makes it the perfect setting for two old friends to wander back through the years. Coffee shop conversation is our weekly ritual. One topic, one memory at a time, as we sift through the stories that shaped us. For week one, Evan arrives with a grin and a steaming cup, ready to kick things off with a surprisingly loaded question. When did you stop believing in Santa Claus? What begins as a lighthearted prompt quickly opens into something deeper about childhood in the 60s and 70s, about the magic adults once worked so hard to create, and about how the world has changed since then. Friends, pull up a chair. The conversation starts here. The bell over the cafe door jingles as Evan slides into the booth, two steaming mugs already waiting. He grins at Benjamin. All right, he says, warming his hands on the cup. I've got our first topic, Santa Claus. Specifically, when did you stop believing? And how different do you think it was for kids like us in the 60s and 70s compared to today? Benjamin laughs. You're starting with Santa? That's your big opener? Absolutely, Evan replies. Santa is the gateway to understanding childhood innocence, parental storytelling, and cultural shifts. Plus, it's December. It fits. Benjamin nods. Fair enough. You go first. Evan leans back, eyes drifting upward as if replaying an old film reel. I was 8. My older cousin, who thought he was a genius, told me Santa wasn't real. I didn't believe him, so I set a trap. I stayed awake all night in the hallway with a flashlight. My dad tripped over me at 2 in the morning carrying a bike. That was it. Case closed. Benjamin bursts out laughing. You ambushed Santa? Apparently, Evan says. But here's the thing. Back then, the whole world helped keep the illusion alive. TV specials, department stores, the Sears catalog, the neighborhood decorations. It felt communal. Benjamin stirs his coffee thoughtfully. You know, I was 10, a late believer. My parents were old school, handwritten letters from Santa, boot prints in the fireplace soot, the whole production. But one year, I recognized my mom's handwriting on a tag. She tried to play it off, but I knew. He smiles softly. I wasn't upset. It felt like being invited backstage at a magic show. Evan nods. That's what I mean. Back then, believing in Santa was almost a cultural rite of passage. Today, kids have the internet. They fact-check everything. They're exposed to so much earlier. Benjamin adds, and parents today are more cautious. They don't want to lie to their kids. And that's probably a good thing. But in our day, imagination was considered healthy, expected even. Evan sips his coffee. Maybe that's why we're doing this, these conversations, to remember the things that shaped us before the world sped up. Benjamin smiles. Maybe so. Evan's journal entry, week 1, topic Santa Claus, belief in the slow fade of childhood magic. Tonight's conversation surprised me. I didn't expect Santa Claus to stir anything meaningful, but it did. Talking with Benjamin reminded me how different childhood felt in the late 60s and early 70s. Life wasn't perfect, but it was slower, softer around the edges. Believing in Santa felt communal. Neighbors, TV specials, store windows, even the post office played along. Losing belief felt like a milestone, not a betrayal, but a transition. Kids today live in a fact-check world. Information moves too fast for mystery to linger. I don't mourn the loss of Santa. I mourn the loss of wonder. Maybe that's why these weekly talks matter. They help me reconnect with the parts of myself I didn't realize I'd misplaced. Benjamin's journal entry, week 1. Topic, the day the magic shifted. Evan chose Santa Claus as our first topic. I laughed at first, but as we talked, I realized how formative that moment was. The day I recognized my mother's handwriting on a gift tag. My parents worked hard to create magic, soot footprints, jingling bells, late night whispers. Discovering the truth didn't break anything. It deepened my appreciation for their effort. Childhood in the 70s felt protected. Fewer screens, fewer distractions, more imagination. I think Evan is right. These conversations are a way of reclaiming something. Not childhood itself, but the clarity that comes from looking back with gratitude instead of regret. As the mugs empty and the morning crowd drifts in, Evan and Benjamin wrap up their first weekly conversation with more than just nostalgia. Santa Claus turned out to be less about a myth and more about a marker of innocence, of trust, of the moment childhood tilts toward understanding. Their journal entries later that night reveal what the conversation stirred: gratitude for the parents who crafted magic, longing for a slower world, and a shared desire to reconnect with the wonder that adulthood tends to bury. If this is only week 1, there's plenty more to uncover. Next Tuesday, another topic. Got another we're coming on Thursday. Another memory, another chance to trace the threads of who they were and who they've become. Until then, the booth is empty, but the conversation lingers. God bless.